The Competition Commission has announced another signing of a consent agreement reached with PnP to eliminate exclusive leases in shopping malls in compliance with the recommendations of the Grocery Retail Market Inquiry. A few weeks ago, the Competition Tribunal confirmed the agreement between the Commission and Shoprite checkers. In its final report, the Grocery Retail Market Inquiry found that long-term exclusive lease agreements are widely prevalent in the grocery retail sector, and they harm customers because they limit consumer choice and reduce competition within shopping centers. It is recommended that they be scrapped, and of course this agreement has been now referred to the Competition Tribunal for confirmation. For more on that, I'm joined by the Competition Commissioner, Thembinkosi Bonagele. Commissioner, good evening and thank you for joining us.
Good evening to you and your listeners.
Commissioner, what is the significance of this particular agreement being signed? I mean, essentially saying it's stopping exclusive leases. What will be the impact on small businesses? What will be the impact on consumers as well?
This, together with the agreement that we signed with Shoprite, is really a milestone if you consider the growing importance of the shopping malls in South Africa. So virtually anybody who wants to do retail in South Africa has to have some presence in shopping malls. This is where the majority and the growing majority at that, this is where it shops at. And so the exclusivity agreement had the effect of keeping that market out for new entrants, for SMMEs, for HDI-owned firms. And so all of that is opened up now. And it's not just people who want to run supermarkets. It's also specialty stores, people who want to do fresh produce, people who want to do butcheries, liquor outlets, and things like that. All of those were subject to restrictions by anchor tenants.
So, Commissioner, you and I have had this conversation before, but for the benefit of those who didn't hear our conversation previously, essentially what it meant is that if a big retailer like PnP was in a shopping mall, a Bonagele retailer that sells supermarket stuff was not allowed to also operate in that retail. Now, with this consent agreement, it now allows those family-owned businesses to also open up shop.
That's correct, yes. There are these so-called anchor tenants. So if a person develops a shopping mall, typically they would have one of them, and it would be one of the larger supermarket groups, the top 3, the top 4, and they would anchor the mall. And the idea was that if you need to raise funding for developing a shopping mall, you need to guarantee the financier that you have this anchor tenant who is going to attract feet into the shopping mall. And for that reason, they would have restrictions in the agreements that would restrict all of these other competitors from getting into the shopping mall. That's why when you walk into a shopping mall, most shopping malls, you will find only one supermarket in that shopping mall. That's by design. It's not the commercial realities, but it's designed to be like that. And that's what we are dismantling now.
Now, for business, of course, that spells good news, but it is also, I suppose, good news for consumers in terms of competition and in terms of prices. Is that going to filter down?
Correct, yes. We actually do have evidence that when supermarkets are existing side by side in a shopping mall, this does impact on prices. We did a case a long time ago where we found this evidence that if you have a particular shopping mall, in a particular shopping mall, a fresh produce seller next to a supermarket, the prices of fresh produce in that supermarket will tend to be lower than in other shopping malls where there is no competition at that level. So it's clearly going to be good for consumers. It's going to be good for new entrants. It's actually ultimately going to be good for shopping mall owners as well, because they now can play these supermarkets one against each other, because previously the exclusivity didn't allow that. In a sense, once you are in a shopping mall, you were a captured market for that particular supermarket. Now it's all open.
Now this, of course, agreement now sent to the tribunal for confirmation is that just a mere formality?
Well, they've confirmed already the one with Shoprite Checkers, and this is quite similar to that. So I don't anticipate that there would be problems. Usually the tribunal does confirm settlement agreements. This is like a court settlement where parties come together and say, we agree not to fight about this. Won't you just confirm our agreement as an order of court? This is what a consent agreement is also like.
Now, who else is on your side there as far as these big retailers? As you've mentioned, Shoprite Checkers signing that agreement now, PnP. Are you looking at other big retailers that have these exclusivity contracts?
Certainly, these are the biggest ones, so they were a priority for us. But we do know, especially in localities, that there are areas where you have like SPAR as another group that tends to be dominant. So we are wanting to dismantle all exclusive list agreements in South Africa that involve all the supermarket chains. So we certainly are looking at others, and we hope that they will be encouraged as well by the with Shoprite and PnP.
Now, we are speaking of an economic recovery, broadly speaking, Commissioner, and such barriers are those critical barriers that certainly do lighten the load in rebuilding the economy. What other tools do you have at your disposal that could certainly help the broader mission of recouping and resuscitating this economy back into health?
Well, it's work like this that kind of address barriers to entry is quite important. The South African economy is quite concentrated. I mean, if we just look at the sector we're talking about now, it's quite unusual for a country, especially a developing country, to have the top 4 supermarket chains responsible for over 65%, some say 70% of the market share. So we note that in South Africa, in many markets, one of the things that has to happen if we are to get growth in the country, but also inclusivity in that growth, we have to tackle barriers to entry. We have to tackle barriers to entry even in the new sectors that are emerging now. E-commerce, we know, is growing. You're seeing a lot of people with scooter deliveries out there. Now, all of that must be done in such a way that you don't have entrenched dominant firms being the only ones who are able to trade in that kind of environment. So that would be my number one priority for post-COVID recovery is you've got to break barriers to entry. You've got to get new firms doing new things and creative things. And you've got to get women, black people trading, because you can't keep them outside and hope to grow their pie.
Competition Commissioner Nkosi, I appreciate your time and thank you for joining us tonight and sharing that update with us. Now.